Alright, so when they tell you a prop gun is prepped, what they're talking about is that the sight channel is filled in so that this will just fold over there and leave a channel for the sights to pull out of the holster. They're talking about the trigger guard is filled in so that the Kydex doesn't get pressed into the trigger guard and you can't pull it out. Right, that's what they're talking about when they say it's prepped. Now, unfortunately, if you buy something like this, which comes with a separate light, so you can switch out lights on this. This is another P365. It is prepped, quote unquote, because it's got the sight channel filled in, it's got the trigger guard filled in. But if you were to mold it like this, the Kydex is going to go down in here and then up over this light, and you won't be able to pull it out of the holster when you're done molding. So you need to find some way to make a channel so that this is level and you can pull it out of the holster. What I do is just get some Sculpey from Walmart. It's just air dry clay, mold it in there into the cracks so that there's nothing lower behind the light to make it so you can't pull it out of the Kydex once you've molded it. And so you're basically just going to rip off chunks of Sculpey and just kind of smoosh it a little bit to make sure it's nice and moldable, and just jam it in there. And then I have some tools that I use to push it into the crevices. Now, right here is going to be an issue because the Kydex is going to go down in here, and then the light mount to the gun will prevent you from pulling this back out of the Kydex once it's molded. So you're going to have to push Sculpey in there and make that even so that you'll be able to draw this. So don't think you're going to get one of these prepped prop guns and just start making holsters immediately. It needs some additional prep. To prevent all these weird molding marks from going onto your holster, I will wrap this in painter's tape once this clay is dry. And I'm just helping it dry a little bit with a heat gun. And now we'll just let that sit for a while until it's dry, and then we'll wrap it with the painter's tape. We're going to use this pretty multicam piece of Kydex to do the pocket holster, not really pocket holster, waist pack holster, I guess, for the P365 with the new TLR7 sub light on it. Alright, so you're basically going to want to line your firearm up on the Kydex. I try not to waste as much as possible. So we're going to try to figure out how much we need below here to meet. That kind of looks good. And then we don't really need to put it down over the handle very much, so I kind of line the edge of the Kydex up with the trigger guard. And then what we're going to do is just kind of take the mold and we're going to flip it onto the top and flip it over on the other side. And then kind of give ourselves the same amount of space over here as we had over here. I'm just going to use the bottom of the pistol grip as a guide. So kind of mark it right there. And then I don't do enclosed on the bottom of the holster, so I'm just going to mark this right at the edge of the bezel. And those will be our two straight edge marks to cut this with. Alright, so we're going to try to right angle this as much as possible so I don't have some weird Kydex here. I like to move the Kydex to the edge of the table. That way I can get a clamp. Come on. Going between the straight edge and the Kydex. So at least I know one side is held down when I'm trying to cut this. And you don't have to try to cut through the Kydex. You've just got to score it deeply enough that it will snap. You basically just want the Kydex to snap in a straight line, or you scored it, or as straight as you can make it. So I probably did that off camera, but it's hard for me to tell where the lens is here. So there we go. So now we've got our piece of Kydex. Alright, so now we've got our nice Kydex. We'll turn the grill back on. Now I always put the glossy flat surface of the Kydex. You'll see there's always a textured surface, and in this case this is the colored surface. And then there's a shiny surface with no texture, it's just smooth. I always put that down on the griddle. And you'll see it immediately curl up on the edges. And that's how you'll know when it's almost ready to go, is that will soften and lay flat. But we're also going to take temperature readings. And now you'll see it's kind of starting to lay flat on all four corners. Take a temperature reading. I'm just looking for over 300 here. Also, we'll take her off. Alright, the moment of truth. Let's see what we've got here. Alright, there we go. Got some pretty decent definition going on there. Slides right out. That's pretty good. Alright, so we got some pretty good definition there. Make sure I'm putting it in the right side. And so if it's clamped together, we can pull the pistol in and out. It's pretty decent, so we're going to take it over and drill some holes in it and put some rivets in here so that it can't come apart, and then we will cut it to the shape that we want. I got a special drill bit that I bought from Knife Kits for drilling holes in the Kydex, and I just put this under the Kydex when I'm drilling a hole. I missed that part, so sorry. Can't use my right hand because of surgery, so I'm supposed to put pressure on that. There we go. Got a little Kydex fold over there to clean off, but 2 clean holes. We can still pull it out of the holster and get it back in there relatively easy. Now, this is a non-adjustable design, but non-adjustable just means you may need to take a heat gun to it to relax it a little bit if it's too hard to get your gun into and out of the holster once you're done shaping it. Alright, so I've penciled in some cuts I know I want to make, just the basic ones to get it down closer to the shape I need, and then I'll come back and mark it up a little more once we've got this basic shape cut out. Don't just basic bandsaw safety like you hopefully learned in you know, shop class, if they still do that. Turn it off before you try to pull out scrap. Don't stick your fingers near the moving band. That's just, man, you'd feel really stupid if you lost a finger over that, right? And just like in shop class, try to line up your cuts before you start it. You know what you're doing. Alright, so now I've got a basic shape there. Now I know the mini red dot sight will fit behind here, and so now I can give it a little more shape and see how we want it to come out. Alright, now I can get a nice grip on that. And if we had a threaded barrel, it would come right out of the front here. So I think we're done cutting on it. And I think we're going to take it over to the belt sander and sand the edges round. That's so you don't have to make these perfect on the saw, because you can round them off on the sander. There we go. The actual SIG fits in there pretty good. So now that I know it fits, we're going to clean this up a little bit and just give it a nice little polish on the edges so they're not rough and so they don't look like that with all the stuff sticking out of there. A Dremel with a polishing bit. I like to use this flexible Dremel cord so that I don't have to actually hold the Dremel. It's much easier to work with this like a little pencil. Everybody's going to come on here and yell at me again, but I just use a little bit of this Dremel polishing paste and a Dremel polishing tip. There are people, oh, you got to burn it and you got to do it my way and my way is the only way. Well, you can do it your way. I'm going to do it my way. You don't want to get too much polish on there. You don't want excess or it'll fly off. You also don't want to press down too hard because it will, even the polishing bit will eat into the Kydex. And there we go. Now we just need to clean it off. Alright, then you're just going to take some water and just rinse it out really good because you don't want any of this Kydex crap scraping against the slide of your gun, marking it up more than necessary. And you can never wipe it all out dry, at least not in my experience. So I just take some hot water and rinse the crap out of it. And just run some paper towels through it to get it mostly dry, and then you'll just leave it somewhere to air dry for a while. It is slightly loose in there, maybe a bit too loose. So let's go ahead and show you how to adjust that. It's always going to be a little looser on your real firearm than on the mold, just because you've got tape and you've got a bunch of stuff that needs to be blocked out in order to get it in and out of the holster. But you can adjust the retention a little bit. You can take some sort of heat gun. This does heat it up really fast, so be careful not to overdo it. You want to get it so the Kydex is a little pliable. We're just going to kind of press in a little bit. Give it a little bit closer definition, especially on the light, which is where these kind of holsters, anything with a light in it, the light is the part of the holster that has your retention. So we can give it a little more squeeze on the light side here, sort of like hand boning a leather holster. And we'll let that cool for a minute. All right, we've given it like 2 minutes to cool, but you'll see now it doesn't immediately fall out when I pick it up. And you can shake it a little bit. There's a little bit more retention. I'm going to turn it over and just do it a little bit on this other side too. And then we should have pretty decent retention. All right, so I can feel that getting pliable there. Again, just going to kind of press it into the flashlight a little bit. Don't do this with your bare hands. Let's give it a minute to cool, and we'll check it. And there we go. It's all cooled off, and look at that. Got some retention there now. I can shake it upside down. It's not falling out. It's not wiggling around like it was in the holster. And you're basically getting that extra space because of all the layers of tape and all the channels you got to make for the mold. So it's best to, if you can, if you're making it for yourself like I do, just put your real gun in there and then kind of do a little bit of fitting, and you'll get a much better retention for it. Also, be careful. The Kydex cools down a lot faster than the rivets or your light will. So don't take off a glove and touch these things. They're still going to be pretty hot, even though the Kydex is cooled down some. Now we are ready to Velcro the back of the holster so that we can stick it in our waist pack. All right, again, so we're going to break out the industrial Velcro. This is actually Velcro brand Velcro. I got this giant pack from Amazon. I can't even remember how many feet this is, maybe like 100 or something. But they do sell this in like 10 and 20 foot rolls at Walmart. Just be aware, if you buy it from Walmart, you are massively overpaying, because I think it's like $20 for 20 feet there. It's like $1 a foot. It's like 25 cents to 50 cents a foot on Amazon. So you're definitely getting a better deal on Amazon. We're going to take the scratchy side, hook side of the Velcro, because the inside of our waist pack should be loop side, the soft side of Velcro. Make sure you don't screw this up, okay? You might want to test fit it first, but you want the side that's going to be against the back. So if you're a right-handed person, you're going to want it like this so that you can draw. So this is the side that will be stuck on the back of your pack. You want to take some of this and just measure out how much is going to fit on the back here. Now I typically go with like 2 strips of this on the back, and that way if it rolls a little bit, it kind of holds it in place rolled. And you're going to want to undersize it a little bit because you don't want this sticking off the edge of the holster. That's how it gets caught on things, and that's what will eventually peel it off. If you don't have it sticking over the edge, it's much more resistant to getting peeled off. So you want to undersize it a little bit. So make sure these edges are inside the bounds of the holster, and then pick a spot where all the edges will be inside the bounds of the holster on the other side. And we'll just cut that. So you can see how I've cut that there, so it fits inside the boundaries of the holster. And then I'm just going to cut another piece for the other part of the holster here. And again, I want to undersize this a little bit. It's arts and crafts time, boys and girls. Arts and crafts. Then just kind of get them both on there to see where you're going to be able to fit it. I might need to cut one of these in half. Now I want this to mostly be held on the top. So you want it rolled a little bit. If you're looking at it from the top, you want it rolled off of the back of the pack a little bit. So you kind of want the top part of the holster the most rolled in so that it leaves the handle kind of at a slight angle so you can get your fingers behind it so you can draw it out. But it sort of works like that on this one anyway, and I went ahead and Velcroed the whole thing. I don't think I'm going to do that on this new one. As this new one, I did a more traditional bottom. Just want to make sure you get this stuff where you want it the first time. It is very sticky. That's why it's industrial. Once you get it stuck on there, it's not going to want to come off. And just kind of work it into the shape of the holster so it sticks on there well. And you are going to want to let this adhesive dry for a while, maybe overnight, before you start using the holster hard. You know, don't stick this on and then run right down to the range and start practicing your draws. It needs some time to set on there. So maybe give it overnight or at least a couple hours. And we're definitely going to need to trim this. So I think I'm going to cut this piece in half lengthwise. All right, there we go. I'm going to go ahead and stick my empty firearm back in here, just because when I'm mounting this, I want to be aware that this light sticks out quite a bit farther than the end of the holster. So I don't want to slam the holster into the bottom, slam, like a flam. So I don't want to slam the holster into the bottom of the bag and not leave enough room for the light to stick out there. And you certainly don't want your light on the bottom of the bag. If you drop this bag on the ground or something, you don't want that to break your light. This is the Helicon Tech Rat Pack, which I am currently in the process of evaluating. So this is the one I'm using now. I'm going to stick this one in here. You can kind of see what I'm talking about there, where when it's sitting in here, it is slightly elevated from the back because it rolls towards the sight channel on the top. Just because of the way the holster is molded and the way that the gun sits, it's wider at the bottom than it is at the top. That's why we've got the Velcro going all the way to the top. So that, you know, that's kind of in the hopes that this is what's going to happen. You get just enough space to slam your fingers in between the soft back of the bag and the grip of your firearm so you can draw it. So that works out pretty good. I'm right-handed, so let me turn this around. I'm right-handed, so I turn it around here. You can see now when I stick my hand in here, there's enough room for my thumb to get back there and get a full grip on the firearm. Look at that. That works pretty good, huh? And there we go. And then, right back in. Fantastic. So that's just a quick overview. Obviously, this isn't a master class, but that's how I do my Kydex holsters. Already have invested in all of the equipment, the press and the rivet crusher, and I have a bunch of power tools that I can use to do this. So it is quite expensive if you have to go out and invest in all that just to make a holster. You're probably better off just buying holsters. But if you already have a bunch of tools like a bandsaw and a drill press and belt sanders and all that stuff like I did for woodworking as well, you don't really need too much more to be able to make the Kydex holsters on your own. So if you're sort of crafty already and you've already got some basic tools, this isn't that expensive to make your own. And these sheets of Kydex are not expensive at all, depending on the material. Obviously this one's got the multicam finish on it, but you can get just, this kind of Kydex with a single color on it for cheaper. Depends on how much you buy, where you buy it from, how many sheets. For me, it's just cheaper to make my own holsters than it is to try to buy a holster for every situation I might want a holster for, especially given that I like to change things when new things come out. So I've had a TLR6 on here for years. I had the mold for the TLR6, and then they came out with the TLR7 sub, and I wanted that because it's a better flashlight. So instead of having to go buy a $50 holster, I think I bought this sheet of Kydex for like $18, $15 or $18 or something for a whole like long sheet, and I'll be able to make a bunch of holsters out of it. So there you go. Hope that helps someone who maybe is interested in it. Obviously there are more detailed videos online. Knifekits.com has a whole series on making your own Kydex holsters if you're interested. Once again, my name is Jay. This is 7-Star Tactical. Go ahead, give us a like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below. It helps with the horrible YouTube algorithm. And I'll see you here next time.